Mother gets Bloodborne working at 60 FPS on PS5, Square Enix reveals Final Fantasy XVI sales, a new FTC vs Microsoft recap as the case came to a close, the Annapurna Interactive Showcase PlayStation recap, and rumors of a possible new Rockstar Classic remaster. All that and more in today's PlayStation news. Let's get to them. PlayStation Plus monthly games have been announced, and starting next Tuesday, July 4th, you can download Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Alan Wake Remastered to get ready for Alan Wake 2 in October, and Endless Extinction is Forever, all of them for PS4 and PS5 and available until July 31st. I think it's a great month. I'm not big into Call of Duty, but I enjoy playing a campaign every once in a while, the most recent Modern Warfare 2. Alan Wake Remastered is amazing, even though some mechanics show it's a 2010 game, but it's great to catch up before the sequel, and Endless looks pretty good as well. You guys agree with 53% of you thinking it's great, 23% say it's amazing, 21% voted for just okay, and 2% each think it's either bad or terrible. There's also an update for the game catalog, as 10 games will be leaving in July, including Stray, Marvel's Avengers, the full Bioshock Remastered Collection, the Borderlands The Handsome Collection, and more. So if you're an extra deluxe or premium user, make sure to play them before July 18th. But before that, we should be getting the announcement for the new games to join the catalog on July 12th. Will you be playing any of the new PS Plus games next month? Let us know in the comments. Next, it's been a hunter's dream to have Bloodborne playable at 60 FPS either as a PS5 remaster, PC release, or both. But if Sony won't do it, popular modder Lance McDonald has said,
"Fine. I'll do it myself."
He posted on Twitter an actual video of the game running at 1080p and 60 FPS on PS5 without any upscaling, and the footage was captured directly on the console. McDonald also did the same for PS4, and the game was playable like this if you mod your console, and he even pointed out that the game only requires a change in 2 lines of code to allow for an output like this. He's hoping an official 60 FPS release will not just be a dream one day. Just like I'm hoping we'll see anything Death Stranding 2 before the year is over, as the game was not shown at the PlayStation Showcase or Summer Game Fest. Someone who may have just seen the game is PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, as per a photo posted by creator Hideo Kojima. Ryan was visiting the studio probably to check on how they are doing with the sequel, and that was on the same day we saw his pre-recorded deposition in the FTC vs Microsoft case. More on that later in this video. Let's now talk about a weird one, and is that somehow people thought The Rock was going to be in the role of Kratos for the upcoming God of War TV show from Amazon. It was someone on Twitter that claimed the news was from a source via TMC, but it was a fake one. Somehow it ended up being news. Santa Monica's Cory Barlog replied to the tweet saying he had literally never heard anything about it. We have new numbers for Final Fantasy XVI after this week Game Industry mentioned that it ended up being number 1 in the UK charts, but it wasn't a strong box launch. In fact, it ended 5th for best launches of 2023 in the UK, behind Zelda, Hogwarts Legacy, Star Wars, and RE4. So when you consider it launched for only one platform and the competition was strong, it wasn't that bad. In Japan, the game also debuted at first place on top of 9 Switch games, as Nintendo dominates the market week to week. Final Fantasy XVI, however, did not help PS5 overtake the Switch sales during its launch week. The console still performed strong with over 85,000 units, but was short of the over 105,000 from the Switch. Square Enix has announced Final Fantasy XVI has shipped and digitally sold 3 million copies of the game during its launch week. That is 2 million short of Final Fantasy XV, which sold 5 million, but it was multi-platform. In comparison with Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was much closer, as that one got 3.5 million copies within 3 days. According to Twitter user Subitek, FF16 is the fastest selling PS5 exclusive ever, and 6th fastest selling PlayStation exclusive behind the likes of God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Spider-Man, and God of War 2018. Have you played the game yet? What do you think about it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Time for the final recap on the FTC vs Microsoft trial, which ended yesterday, and there's a ton of news to go over. But let's start with the fact that Sony ended up with tons of sensitive information being exposed after a document they submitted as evidence to the case was badly redacted. The document reveals that Horizon Forbidden West cost $212 million to develop over 5 years with 300 employees, while The Last of Us Part 2 was $220 million with 200 employees. There's info on Call of Duty as well, as the franchise generated $873 million in the US alone in 2021 for PlayStation, And the last one, Modern Warfare 2, sold 4.4 million units on PlayStation during its launch. It also leaked what we already know, that this year's Call of Duty is the last one under their current marketing agreement. Another interesting info leak was the fact that Microsoft often requires Day 1 Game Pass titles to be excluded from competing subscription services, while Sony doesn't require exclusivity for PlayStation Plus. However, we should remember Sony does something similar with the games they have a partnership with, as we heard they blocked Resident Evil Village from competing services when it released in 2021. So they both do the same practices in different ways, but it's interesting Microsoft played victim to the Resident Evil Village news when they also had something similar in play. Outside of leaked documents, the case published one of the email exchanges between SIE President Jim Ryan and former Sony executive Chris Deering, saying that they will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation. This was brought up in previous sessions. This, however, is not that Phil Spencer August email Ryan brought up in his deposition that set Sony's alarms bell ringing. That one is still a mystery. There's also some proof on Microsoft's site revealing that besides the 100 companies they were thinking of acquiring, including the likes of Sega, Bungie, and IO Interactive, they were also thinking about buying Square Enix in 2019 to boost their presence in Asian markets, given their franchises would drive the adoption of Game Pass, and it was also a robust mobile native portfolio. The acquisition documents submitted by Microsoft were also part of a blunder where they needed to be redacted and they were not. As a follow-up to this acquisition news, Sega co-COO Shuyi Otsumi spoke with Bloomberg saying they are very close to Microsoft and have a great relationship with the management team, but they are not interested in an acquisition as of now. Sega developer Sports Interactive, who make Football Manager, also came in response to the case, specifically to what Jim Ryan said during his deposition on Tuesday that every publisher dislikes Game Pass. Miles Jacobson, studio head, said to Eurogamer that every studio is going to have different opinions on this, and different studios will have different data because different games work well in different situations. For us, it's nothing but positives on all three platforms. Now let's move to an overview of the most important things that happened on days 4 and 5, as there's an insane amount of info, but if you want to know more, check the sources in the description below. Day 4, we had Activision CEO Bobby Kotick talking about what Jim Ryan has said regarding degrading the Call of Duty experience for PlayStation, indicating that the developers wouldn't do that, as it would enrage gamers, damaging the company and franchise reputation. Kotick made compliments to Sony as he thought they were the best electronics company of all time, with an extensive distribution system for music, movies, and above all games that has allowed them to capture a disproportionate market share. And also pointed out their ability to transition games to the TV screen successfully, with the recent The Last of Us TV show as an example. All of that probably with the idea of establishing that Sony would be fine if the deal goes through. Activision also doesn't have any plans of making Call of Duty exclusive to one platform, with Kotick saying a plain no, as this alienates their 100 million monthly active users, with 15 to 16% of them playing on PlayStation. There's also the fact that PlayStation's current Call of Duty revenue is twice what it is on Xbox. Kotick gave the reason to Jim Ryan on subscription services, saying he would not put games on these services on day 1, as it has a negative impact on their financial model, and they considered it for Game Pass but made a decision not to include them. However, they can be convinced to do so if the price is right, but he didn't think any company would be able to make any type of commercial commitment to offering a structural value. Legacy Call of Duty titles can be put on subscription services, and as an example, there have been several Call of Duty games on PlayStation Plus, including next month. Another witness for Day 4 was Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who debated about exclusivity, saying that his philosophy is to put software on more platforms, not less, which is true for productive and gaming content. If it was up to me, I would love to get rid of the entire sort of exclusive on consoles, but that's not up to me to define. He continued, especially as a low share player in the console market, that the dominant player there has defined market competition using exclusives, and so that's the world we live in. I have no love for that world. Day 5 is a lot more complicated to recap, as there was a lot of financial and technical information which became overwhelming to follow at different points. I'm really glad the whole trial is over. One of the most important things to come out of Day 5 is how Microsoft decided to make all ZeniMax Xbox games exclusive after a November 2021 meeting. There were a few emails shared from Xbox CFO Tim Stewart, who was a witness for the day, where he discussed with Matt Booty about Bethesda games, and he was surprised that all games moving forward were going to be exclusive and not just new IP. There was another email where Stewart discussed with Phil Spencer that he wished they would be able to say everything would be exclusive from that point forward, while Spencer replied they couldn't say that. I previously mentioned this as an issue. I would rather have them saying that everything will be exclusive instead of the case-by-case narrative, as I have no issue with that, but for other people it may set false expectations. It feels like they don't want to say something that enrages people, but if every case will be exclusive, then what's the point? Stuart also shared how he works on several models for a project, from being fully multi-platform to being fully exclusive to Xbox, and another email revealed how he was worried they would have accountability margin issues as they factored several Bethesda games to be on PlayStation after the merger, and going exclusive would pull that revenue of the model. However, Call of Duty on PlayStation was part of the model they used for this new $69 billion acquisition. Both the FTC and Microsoft gave closing comments, and it appears that while Microsoft started with a strong case and the FTC had a hard time explaining consumer harm in regard to the console market, it may have raised questions about cloud gaming. And after all, the FTC's intention is not to block the deal here but say there's doubt, and they require an additional hearing in August. Microsoft was also back and forth with both Judge Corley and the FTC trying to defend themselves. I'm no lawyer and wasn't kidding in saying this last day was difficult to follow. The verdict is expected to be revealed around the next 2 weeks, as Microsoft requires the result to see if the deal is clear to get finalized before July 18. In related news, Canada's regulators sent a letter in the middle of yesterday's hearing in reply to a statement from Microsoft indicating most regulators around the world have approved the deal, but Canada concluded the merger will result in the lessening of competition. Microsoft, however, replied immediately, saying the period for the regulator to prevent the deal from closing had already passed. And in the UK, the CMA is set to go against Microsoft in the appeal hearing on July 28 after the organization announced they would block the deal in April. The CMA proposed a new trial date for October, but their higher-ups, the Competition Appeal Tribunal, denied this petition. What do you think about everything that happened in this case? Would you be affected if the Activision games go exclusive? Who do you think ends up winning? Share your thoughts in the comments. Annapurna Interactive held its Summer Games Showcase this week. This is the PlayStation-related recap. From Inside and Limbo gameplay designers comes Cocoon, winner of the Summer Game Fest most anticipated in the game. It will allow you to jump in and out of worlds to solve puzzles when it launches for PS4 and PS5 this September 29. Lush Fire Photography Sim offers you a calm exploration and photography experience with realistic in-game cameras and faithfully detailed landscapes made with Unreal Engine 5, coming soon to PC and consoles. Then there's Flock, a multiplayer co-op game where you take the role of a flying shepherd as you capture weird creatures for your flying herd and take care of them. It will be out soon for PS4 and PS5. Moving on, Ghost Bike launches in 2024 for PS4 and PS5, putting you in the shoes of a streetwise kid from Free Hop City on a mission to revive the last of the Ghost Bikes, a courier who rode between the world of the living and the dead. Mondon is a horror tale set in a dark, secluded valley of the Alps. The game was already available for PS4 but has now been updated with bug fixes and new language options, plus it has a free upgrade for PS5 offering 4K resolution and 60 FPS. Next was Bounty Star, an over-the-shoulder 3D action game where you become a bounty hunter that pilots a mech, combining combat and customization with farming and base building. It will be out for PS4 and PS5 in 2024. From Outer Loop Studio comes Thirsty Suitors, a game where you play as Yala, who needs to handle her demanding parents, reconcile with her exes, and mend broken friendships in time for her sister's wedding. It launches for PS4 and PS5 this November 2nd. Lastly, the internal team at Annapurna is making Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth for consoles and PC soon, bringing the franchise back to games for the first time in 25 years with a plot set between the original film and 2049. In other news, we haven't heard anything about Silent Hill 2 Remake in a while, but popular horror leaker Dust Golem, who is pretty reliable, has given some info on the Snitch Discord. They said the game will be 100% bigger than the original. They also heard about the release date a few weeks back but are waiting for the information to be concrete before commenting on anything. A new leak via the Korean rating board seems to give hope of a Red Dead Redemption 1 remaster or re-release of some kind. The organization lists the game with a deliberation date of June 15 after the game was submitted on June 5, so this is a new filing. There were rumors last year that Rockstar was planning for a remaster of the game that ended up cancelling after a poor reception of the GTA trilogy, but Kotaku later reported that it could still happen. EA's Iron Man game was revealed in September last year, coming from Dead Space remake developer EA Motive, and now we have a bit more information from a job listing. They are looking for an audio software developer who must be proficient in Unreal Engine 5's audio system, including working with audio components, graphs, sound cues, and Unreal Blueprint visual scripting. This may even confirm previous rumors that the company was ready to ditch their Frostbite engine for UE5 for the next Mass Effect as well. Speaking of Mass Effect, there's some bad news for developer Bioware, as it has been hit with layoffs, resulting in moving development for Star Wars: The Old Republic to Studio Broadsword. The current development team will be asked to transition, but not every role will make it. Bioware GM Gary McKay, who gave the news, also said the studio is renewing its focus on two key franchises, Dragon Age and Mass Effect, as they continue to polish these experiences for fans. Here's hoping for the best for everyone affected and those remaining at the studio, since Bioware has been struggling a lot with troubled development. Baldur's Gate 3 has been delayed for PS5 as Larian Studios announced in their latest community update. They said they will be releasing the game in order of platform readiness, with the PC version release happening sooner than scheduled on August 3rd, but the PS5 release is being delayed to September 6th. That is the same release date as Starfield on Xbox, but given Baldur's Gate 3 is PS5 exclusive for now, it means there's an RPG for each side on that day. Sony kind of poked some fun at this, announcing on Twitter that Baldur's Gate 3 launches on PS5 with 60 FPS. PS5 may not get a Starfield, but it's getting a former Xbox exclusive in Scorn, an atmospheric first-person horror adventure from developer F Software and Kepler Interactive. It launches for PS5 this fall, including DualSense features like haptics simulating left or right hand, and balancing vibrations to in-game sound, all to enhance the game's visual storytelling. It also uses adaptive triggers for weapons and the light bar to represent the player's health. The game will release in both physical and digital formats, including a digital art book, digital soundtrack, and a steelbook, only available at selected retailers. And those are the PlayStation stories for today. Come back on Monday for a new video, but remember to share your thoughts on any of these news in the comments below, like or dislike to let me know your feedback, check out other videos you may enjoy while you're here, and consider subscribing for more on PlayStation. Thank you so much for watching, my name is Joseph, this is Hype for Games, and let's get hype!